Hello guys, and welcome to another update for Bigger Than Yours. What is this video gonna be about? It's gonna be about the things that are active in version 13604, being the first version you're gonna be getting on iOS. No updates for ages, and they have been waiting, and now I decided, since nothing happened, that I would trash the old pending updates, send the new one, and not update the game until everybody's on board with what we have in this update here. So besides that, I am gonna be doing a gameplay video because I had a request for a Bigger Than Yours gameplay video. So what I'm gonna be doing in this video is just to play the game through, at least for like some part of the basic game, to show you guys how I am playing it when I'm testing it out and when I'm having fun with it, competing with my son. So yeah, let's dig into it, shall we? Alrighty, paint. So there we have our QB. The new QBs almost always spawn something. As you can see, when they drop down, this one pops out a single black, and that is because this is just a darkened one, so we don't really get much else from it. It darkens the other objects, and we want them as dark as possible so that we can get better in the game, really progress, so to say. So that is the QBs now are crazy more active, and yeah, at the time of the recording, you can see this was the current top list. I have put in the new one, the one as of this recording, my commentary, down in the, yeah, it's my left corner, really, but yeah. So anyway, we're starting out here, and I'm just tapping, and the way that I like to play Bigger Than Yours is as a tapper, as a clicker. That is the type of gaming I'm super passionate about. So I'm tapping like crazy to get more of these tier 1 small square objects, and because I am one of the top 100 players in the current top list, I only get black objects. That is a very, very good thing. Right now everybody just gets black objects because with only Android players, and it's a very new game, we don't have 100 active players on the top list, so everybody now has a chance to go in and just rake some serious prestige points by crushing the top lists right now. As soon as I start to get tier 2 objects, they are the larger squares that you see like on the second floor. I start tapping them instead. As soon as I have the funds for it, I upgrade my tap power so that I can get even more. Now that I have enough objects on tier 2, I don't really care about tier 1 anymore. I want to do this. I want to split my existing objects. Once an object is completely black, when you tap on it, it will get a golden border, and when you tap on an object with a golden border, you will now get either cash, as you can see, different amounts depending on what objects, or you will split it into 2 objects. You will keep your existing object, it will become completely white, and you will gain a new object that has 1 additional side. So if you split a square, you will get a pentagon. If you split a pentagon, you will get a hexagon. This has different effects in the game. The more sides a shape has, the more money it gives you over time. There are also some behind the scenes things that give you benefits, so I'm not really going to go a lot into that, but rest assured that having an object with more sides is a really good thing for you in the game, besides what you get when you tap on it and for the cash over time. I'm going to share a lot more about these behind the scenes things as I get them developed into something that is more visual, that you can see directly, but yeah, not that important right now. So same thing basically. Now that I have a tier 3 object, I had 25 tier 2 objects. I split them so that I would get more faster. I get down to tier 3, and instead of tapping up in tier 2, I start tapping on my object in tier 3. The plus 5, you can see, those are the 5 tier 1 objects, the tiny small squares at the top that I get each time I'm tapping. I still get them even though I'm tapping down here. The really important thing to keep in mind in Bigger Than Yours is that no matter where you tap, you get your base per tap income, so to say, the tier 1 squares. So you're secured that no matter where you tap. You need 100 of those to get 1 tier 2 object. That means if you tap on a tier 2 object and you split it, you actually get 100 extra for that click. And that scales down all the way through the system. So when you reach tier 3, tier 4, where the objects are like 62,500 for one object, or 1.3 million for the tier 5 object, if you split that, your total mass, your total size, so to say, that which we are competing on, having the biggest, being able to go the furthest down, it increases by that total value. So you can get millions of object value for a single click in addition to what you normally get. That is the superpower of active clicking, luck, and upgrades in Bigger Than Yours. So what I'm doing now is that another thing that is very important to remember, and this is where you can start to be a little strategic about how you play Bigger Than Yours. Every tier makes it 10 times harder to split your object. So if you have 10% chance to split an object on tier 2, you have 1% chance to do it on tier 3. That means you have 1 in 100 chance of it to split into 2 objects if it has a golden border and you tap on it. This scales all the way down through the system, making it 10 times harder each time you go down one step. So that is like the bomber news. It gets harder. The interesting thing is that you need more than 10 objects to go down one tier. You need 25 objects, you need 20 objects, at some point only 10. But even though things get 10 times harder in terms of splitting, if you manage to do it, you're going to get 25 or 20 times as much value. So it is harder for you to actually do the split, even though it's luck based. So you could get it on the first tap, you could also get it never, but it is 10 times harder, but the reward is much greater. So if you pull it off, it is a better deal for you to tap further down. Now, this is where you can juggle your the risk reward kind of thing. Do you want a higher chance of splitting? Then go further up in the game. Do you want a better reward? Then go further down in the game. We have an upgrade that I will be looking at a little later in the gameplay, because the first upgrade price is 1,618. What that does is that it doubles your chance of splitting, and you can do that 20 times, meaning that you can get a 20 times greater chance of splitting, and you can do that again on any tier. That's like one thing that you can keep in mind in terms of splitting. Another is income. Whenever you create an object that is a tier larger, when you combine 25 tier 2 objects to a tier 3 object like we just did here, you get money. You need money to buy upgrades. If you split an object, you don't get any money. So if you work really hard on splitting objects like I'm doing here on tier 3, trying to get enough tier 3 objects to reach tier 4, I'm not getting that much money for it. I will when I get a tier 4 object, because the income for making larger objects obviously scale. But if I had been tapping on tier 2 so that I would make tier 3 objects faster instead of splitting them, I would be getting money each time I got a tier 3 object. So if you want more money so that you can get more per tap, better crit radio, whatever it is you are seeking upgrade wise, then it is all else equal smarter to tap higher up in the game. So if you just want to be bigger, go down. Go for the low chance to get bigger, to split more, to go crazy. If you want to balance things out a bit more, if you want a passive income, because the game also has the per second stuff, if you want those upgrades, then go higher up. Have a higher chance of splitting so that you can get more money for upgrades and progress in that way. So I feel like the game has a lot of sides to it, and we haven't even really talked about the cubics yet, because I decided to make this gameplay video from the very start of the game, and the way the game is designed is that you get 4 cubics, these emoji kind of squares when you start the game, but you only borrow them, so to say. They're not yours. They're active in the system, but in terms of whether or not you have them for trading, that will be added later, you have 0. This means the first time you unbox something, you will lose those 0 and only have the cubics you actually have. That's probably a really bad way for me to design the game. I should have given players coins to start with so that you could go in and unbox your own, and I'm probably going to do that in another update. But in terms of introducing these cubics, I kind of just wanted to have one there when you came into the game and you can tap on it and it does something right away. I really like that idea. Perhaps I'll give one free and you'll get some coins so you can go in and unbox right away. I don't know. I mean, I'm also very curious about what you guys think. So other stuff that has been added to the game since, depending on when you saw it the last time, when you tap on an object now, if it doesn't have a golden border, you will see a small animation with black squares where you tap. If it has a golden border, you will see them with more golden objects. This is in addition to the +9 you see in the cash income. And what this new feature can do for you is that it can show you whether or not you're actually hitting the object. Because I was pretty surprised when I added this feature and I saw my own tapping. I was like, I thought I was hitting these objects all the time, and I wasn't. I was not hitting them all the time. So this is a very, very cool feature. I think it has the splashy effect, yay, but it's also a pretty good indication of, am I hitting these objects or not? So that is another small thing I added. Another thing that was added, as Halo has mentioned, is the new split effect. When you split an object, it will say split, and there is a small confetti animation. And apparently this was able to crash BlueStacks. Halo wrote that he might have done a double split, so I don't know. I'm going to be looking much more into that because, of course, I don't want to be crashing any devices. I think I made 10 updates today on Android, and that is because 1, I suck, and 2, you rock. Meaning that I made some overambitious, too generous features in the game that ended up crashing systems. I had the cubies spawn objects like crazy without giving a pause, so the system wasn't able to keep up really just with all the physics objects being added to the game. It crashed one device after another, so that is of course super embarrassing. But I feel like all of that stuff has been fixed now. I completely reprogrammed the prestige option, and it should also be working as intended now. I really hope so. I have tested it for hours. My kids have helped test it, and those of you of Android have been busting it. It appears to be working now. I have encountered a single time where you had to watch an ad twice in order to prestige. I will look more into that, of course I will, because that is not how it is supposed to be. But it appears as if all the bugs and game crashing things are now gone. I also made a nudge to where it says top 10 biggest. Before this update it would give you a bonus position so that 2 players could be on the top position, being biggest in the world. And unfortunately in my correction here I made it so that sometimes it now reduces your position by 1, meaning that you may not be able to be getting all the benefits as being the first player. But that is also something, of course, I'm going to be looking into and changing and updating. But I kind of decided that after all these bug tests and with every iOS player out there completely unable to play the game, I wanted to pause things now in terms of game development, mostly because I wanted all bugs gone before adding in new stuff, and I want to add in trading. I really want to add in trading. I want to give you guys the option to choose your own username and password as we have done in Evader. But before I do that stuff, I want to be able to look at the game stats, yeah, nice split, and just check out how are things progressing, how are the prestige credits being awarded, are there any bugs, exploit things that I haven't found, that you guys haven't found, that I want fixed before we put in more stuff into the game. Because to be honest, guys, I'm pretty hyped about this game right now. Like really, I really like it. But I want to add in a lot of other really cool things. And as I wrote to Halo today, also of course we're getting much more interesting top list prizes, because yeah, they're not that interesting right now, but we're gonna get there. I didn't want to add in like all, just refreshing the top list here. I didn't want to add in all the most amazing prizes that I had in mind at the start, because one, so many bugs. I didn't want to give out all the good stuff because something happened that shouldn't. No one from iOS has played this game yet, meaning it would be super unfair if if Android players just got all the cool rewards from the very start and iOS players were like, what have we done? Nothing. You just play on a different type of device that's like technic racist or something. So anyway, yeah, I know, super. I think that was what I wanted to include in this gameplay video here. So the new features, the ones that came to mind that I haven't talked about previously, and a little bit about how I play the game. I'm super focused on splitting stuff. I pretty much continue to go down and split. I try to manage 2 tiers at a time. As you can see here, I'm keeping the tier above golden as much as possible while trying to tap on the best possible objects I have, both in terms of getting the cash for it and being able to really split and get this crazy value. These objects down here are worth 62,500 points each. So if I split one of those, I'm going to increase my value by 62,500. That's a huge amount of value, and that is, if you're wondering and you're checking out the top list and suddenly somebody's just trailblazing away, then it's because some crazy split happened, giving them a lot more value. And as I mentioned, we have an upgrade that allows you to be even more efficient at splitting. And there is also a super split, and I made the super split 10 times more common, in some cases 100 times more common. And the super split it works like a normal split, meaning that when you tap on an object with a golden border, it will split. But the super split will give you up to 10 objects instead of just a single object, and it will leave your original object black instead of turning it white. When you get the super split, it will say super split on the screen, and yeah, you will notice, because crazy stuff happens when you get that many objects in a in a good tier. Of course, if it happens up the first tier, you may not really notice because things just kind of get pulled down in the system. But it is something that can happen, and it will now happen 100 times on average. I think that's pretty cool, and I'm really curious about hearing if you guys are gonna be getting it. I haven't been getting it yet in my non-rigged playtests, because I do rigged playtests where when I make a feature, I do some sneaky coding so that I am very likely to trigger whatever it is I've been working on, so that I don't need to do the 1 in a million thing. And whenever I do that, everything works. But I also spend a lot of time playtesting things, as I've shown you guys also in Innovator, from the start, trying to get everything up, figuring out, is everything working as intended, and can I get this, or is this thing that I expected to be very rare just happening all the time? Then obviously I have done something wrong. It is a bit harder to test if it is happening like rare enough or infrequent enough, because that would really require me to play like 20 hours. So what I am doing is, of course, I'm keeping track of the game statistics, meaning that the game is storing information about what objects are being split. Not any personal information, like I don't have your emails and that stuff, but in terms of game data, it is keeping track of how many super splits have been done today, how many splits have been done today, on what tiers, so that I can see, okay, is this within the margin that I designed the game for, or were players super crazy today? Did someone possibly find an exploit? The way I have designed the game is that you can play it with macros as well if you want to. I know the players that are doing it because it's also something I have developed the game to tell me. I really want players to be able to enjoy the game the way they want to, but because it has a top list feature, I also want it to be safe and fun and fair for everyone. And that is also why we have these different colored objects you're going to be spawning once we have more than 100 active players on the top list. But I also have some other features in that I can instantly activate remotely, and then it will be less interesting to play things if you are using a macro. But right now it looks as if the players that are doing the passive active gaming are actually doing it in a very, very nice way. So that is really cool, fun, and amazing. So anyway, guys, that was what I had to share in terms of Bigger Than Yours. I think before like rounding things off, I'm just gonna do a refresh on the top list. And it's probably Halo that's just crushing it like crazy, because he is really crushing it in this game. Yeah, he is almost at 3 million on the top list. You're such a ninja, Halo. It's crazy. You're really, really, really crushing it. But of course, I'm just gonna be pulling the list a little bit here so you guys can see where things are moving like that. So, and that is my demo name today. As you can see right now, we actually only have 31 players on the top list. I know I said in the previous video that I would have these like 50 accounts in there with predetermined values. I kind of decided not to roll with that anyway, because I think it's much cooler for players to see how many players are actually playing this game. Like, complete transparency. Okay, so we have 30 active players right now since the reset 8 hours ago on Android today. That's pretty amazing. We have more active players, they just haven't reset. I think right today alone, which is what? Today 58 installs. Crazy. 58 installs on Android today. Yeah, active devices. Pretty insane and crazy. And wow, you guys, that is just super cool. But that is besides the point entirely. So yeah, that was it now. So yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.